All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to the We the Collective podcast, We the Collective Fitness podcast, where we talk about fitness, health, wellness, mental well being, all that other fun stuff. And for this week, I wanted to go ahead and share more of a personal story, and maybe it's something that kind of resonates and helps you. So if we rewind a little bit into the fall of 2022, and I don't mean like the decline of it, but that season. I had got down to about 195 pounds, but I felt like garbage. I wasn't sleeping. I was hungry like all the time. Like I felt like garbage. And I told myself, okay, we're going to go ahead and try to do your first true bulk um, during the fall and the winter and just kind of see like what it feels like to let my body recover even more so, right? And then I changed over my training into like powerlifting. I kind of cut cardio out completely, minus like just walking around and being active in that regard. So I was still coaching, so I was still somewhat active, but I didn't have scheduled time to go do cardio. So during that time frame, I went from 195 to 205, and it's exactly what I wanted. So I wanted to make sure that I was feeling nice and recovered and things were working to my benefit. So felt great. I got to eat a little bit more free. So having, the garbage foods around like the holidays or having bigger servings, that all felt well and good because during that time frame I was powerlifting. So I was trying to get as strong as I could. And so I would eat more to make sure there was more than enough for my body to recover. Simple and plain. Then comes the turn of the year. So we get into 2023, and I go, I want to start a light cut, and I want to do it very gradually. So I don't want to spend a ton of time on it. Like I just want to be able to, cut a couple things out of the diet that aren't really suitable for me anymore, like eating high processed junk food. Monitor a little bit more of like the fast food that I was eating because I still like a McGriddle. So sometimes you're like, dude, I'm gonna eat McGriddles today because I want to. So I was doing that, and I was cutting that back out until I can only have like once a week. That's perfectly fine. As I sit here all itchy, like I really want one. But I wanted to go ahead and then change everything else around in my workout routine as well. So as the weather started to improve, I started to do a lot more cardio. So I started running again. And then as for the powerlifting, I switched over to bodybuilding. So instead of having really high intensity stuff, I started to focus in a whole lot more on like high volume work, just being able to just a lot of high volume work, training much closer to failure, past failure, and just feeling that soreness sensation of really hard bodybuilding work. And partially as a masochist, I kind of enjoy that feeling. It takes a bunch of time, but I actually started to enjoy that feeling. So I figured, changing over the bodybuilding style, trying to build muscle, and then adding in some of the cardio, what would be happening is that my weight would start to drastically fall back down, and I would get to like that 200-pound range again. And then I would just see, can I push past 195 and feel okay? Right? The last time I felt like garbage, maybe this time I'll feel better because I'll actually be leaner with more muscle mass. Maybe it'll work. This time around, no, it's not worked. So what I've realized so far is that I got myself up to about 215. So I've put on about 10 pounds since the beginning of the year and 20 pounds since the fall. So people could go ahead and take a look at that weight loss journey and say, wow, what a failure. To some degree, yeah. But I think when an individual goes ahead and looks at it and said, man, I know I was 195, now I'm 215. Why do I even bother doing this anymore? And I think a lot of us would go ahead and say, that's the perfect time to quit because it doesn't work. So why do I waste my time? And then we just dive into all of like the horrendous things in our diet that we felt like we've restricted ourselves from, and then just start to gorge ourselves on that one, right? So part of my brain's like, eat the sleeve of Oreos. It's one of the reasons I don't really keep a ton of junk food in the house, unless it's like really high protein snacks, right? High protein snacks I try to keep around because they're filling. So with a lot of other people saying that they would probably give up on this journey and revert back, I'm looking at it as an opportunity to say, well, weight isn't the only number that actually matters in this regard. So yes, I've put on 20 pounds since the fall. And even saying it out loud is a little bit bothersome. But then I have to take the next tier of questions that come with it. How do I feel? I feel really good. How's the weightlifting? I still feel pretty strong. Like I can get through my sets. I have better form than I had before. Doing bodybuilding, I have a much better mind body like muscle connection. So for me, some people have actually like kind of insinuated that I don't understand yoga. I think yoga is the unity of the mind and body, however you get it. So I can actually find yoga type moments when bodybuilding. I enjoy it. It's really fun for me. That really good mind body connection. So as I go ahead and work through that and understand that my body's feeling better, um, lifting is feeling really good. I feel that I'm recovering. Uh, I started running, so I'm running upwards of 10 to 12 miles a week. So you would think my numbers would go down, and they're not. And it's like I feel good. I look in the mirror. I look a little bit leaner. I'm actually due for progress photos in the near future. So I do recommend like taking like progress photos like once a week, once a month, and just kind of like tracking your progress to some degree because you're not really going to see that change in yourself as much as other people are going to see it because you see yourself constantly and other people only see you as often as you see them. So you might be changing and you don't even realize it. So when I look in the mirror, I realize that my shirts are a little bit tighter in my chest, shoulders, and back, but they're a little bit baggier on my core. So it's not like my belly is sticking out. So it's actually starting to lean down a little bit, and I'm adding some more muscle mass. So that's exciting, right? That's a good thing for me because I do want to have more muscle on my frame because more muscle means I probably will have a better chance of living longer. I don't need just massive amounts of it where I have to start taking steroids or any of that stuff. I just want to be able to feel strong and confident in my ability to do things when I call my body to go do it, right? I want my body to really listen to what my mind says and have the wherewithal to say, "Yep, I can do that. Let's go." So feeling better, moving better. I've added in the running. I'm looking leaner in the mirror. So if I take those other factors into play, the cut is actually going well in a different manner, right? My body's getting stronger. I'm putting on more muscle. Those are good things. So it's just a nice reminder to yourself that you can go ahead and have these moments where your weight will fluctuate. It is not a linear progression. Like it's not just going to be like day after day, like another part of a pound is going to come off because even for like healthy weight loss within a week we're talking 1 to 2% of your body weight. Like 2% is really high, so 1%, so I'm over 200 pounds, so 2 pounds a week is more than fantastic if I got that to come off. But would I sacrifice the muscle that I lost in the past? No. I'd rather hold steady and actually have muscle gain than actually lose weight on the scale. And I think we get lost in that regard because sometimes people will go ahead and they'll starve themselves or they'll do like just ridiculous amounts of cardio and hit cardio and be like, we need to get more calories burned because that's how we do it. It's like, well, if you build muscle over your frame, the metabolic use of that muscle is really high. So even as you just sit and exist, you'll start to burn more calories when there's more muscle. That's why I went into more of the training of bodybuilding and then running as a separate entity than doing just a bunch of hit cardio. And if people like hit cardio because it keeps them enthused in working out, awesome. Hit cardio is not my thing. If I do hit cardio, it's like 1 or 2 trainings a month where there's some kind of sport type hit training that I'll go ahead and do. So just to go ahead and to recap so you can kind of understand something for yourself as you work through your own journeys. You might look like you're gaining weight on the scale. Who gives a shit? Right? All that number is telling you is the gravity that pulls on your mass on Earth. And there's a couple of ways that you can go ahead and immediately lose weight. One, cut off one of your limbs and then tell me your life is better. Guaranteed to lose weight. Or go to another planet. You'll immediately go to the moon. You'll weigh 1/6. Nothing will change, but you'll weigh 1/6. If that's what you're gunning for, see how it doesn't really matter as much? It doesn't. You won't perform any different. You won't do anything any different. The number will just change. So instead, use it as an opportunity to say, what are the goals that are important for me to go ahead and accomplish? And even setting like 1 or 2 things like, hey, I want to be able to keep up with my kids as they run around. And as a soccer coach for U12, keeping up with like 10 and 11-year-olds is tough. Like even for me, like it's tough. Like I can keep up, but it's tough. You have to really try to go ahead and keep at their pace. They're the ones growing into their bodies. Mine's just starting to fall apart a little bit. So I'm trying to make sure that I can retain everything that I can so I can go on as long as I need to or as long as I choose to. So it's okay if the scale looks like it tilts up. You could just be holding on to extra water. You could just be stressed. You could just be actually gaining weight. And all those things are fine if the other factors are in a positive nature, right? If you're feeling good, you're using your body the way that you choose to, and it's working to your advantage, who cares about that number? I rather worry about, am I getting better at something that's actually important, or do I care about some science number that pulls me down to the ground? Because that's not the end all be all of who I am. So hopefully this is something that can kind of resonate with you a little bit. Any other like questions, comments, concerns? I do want to go ahead and help. So it could be really, really daunting and difficult, seeing the scale change, but then forgiving yourself and working through it is actually going to be really helpful as well. So give it a shot and good luck.